Hello and welcome to this one exact video. I would say welcome back to my channel, but that would imply that literally anyone watches this channel, and also would imply that I post with any sort of frequency, which both of those things are not true. Today I am going to be doing a special effects look. I'm sure you saw the thumbnail and I'm sure you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. It will be a tutorial, although I will not be saying everything while I'm doing the makeup. I'll be doing a voiceover just like I did in my last video. I find that voiceovers for me are more enjoyable to record, so I can focus completely on makeup while I'm doing the makeup and focus on telling you how to do it afterwards. And I also just think they turn out better because I have more time to think about what I'm saying and it'll actually make more sense to you. It's going to be a creature makeup, a lot less humanoid than some of the other things I've been doing. Again, you've seen the thumbnail. I don't really need to explain that part. So anyway, I hate long intros. Let's just get started. I don't really feel the need to use a voiceover for this part because I feel like I can explain it pretty easily while I'm doing it. So I'm going to be making some fake teeth to put in slits. So instead of sculpting teeth out of clay, which is totally an option, you can also just buy prosthetic teeth, but that's pretty expensive. I'm just gonna make them out of a paper plate. Don't want any of this colored part. And if you just have a regular paper plate and not one of these fancy ones, that's for the best because all you need is this. Now I'm just gonna go in with my scissors and cut out a triangle. It's pretty simple looking, and when you put it inside mouth, however you orient it, it'll look like a tooth. See, I'm just cutting a little triangle out of this white cardboard that the paper plate is made out of, and then I can use it as tooth-like prosthetic in my look. And we'll use them later. And here is where the voiceover starts. So to start out, I am just taking off my makeup, my fake eyelashes, and that nose chain, which is not a real piercing. But my septum is a real piercing. What I'm doing here is taking out the actual jewelry and replacing it with a straight piece of metal. I used part of a paper clip. If you have any real piercings that might get in the way, I would definitely recommend doing this. Now I'm going to be starting out with my liquid latex. And what I'm doing here is just building the shape of those mouths or slits or whatever you want to call them using the liquid latex. I am making the edges of these a little bit thicker than I want the actual edges of those slits to be, so that I have some room to peel it up. Starting out with the peeling process, I just peel the edges of that liquid latex, and I'm using the scissors when I need them because it just removes any possible mistakes you can make with your fingers and it gets those edges a bit more exact. And now that I've given some depth to these wounds using the liquid latex, I'm just outlining the very outside of the latex, not touching the inside part that I just peeled it from, with a light mauve-y pink color. And now I am in the inside on the other side of that latex ridge. I have a very dark brown color. You can also use a black for this, outlining the inside part and giving it a little bit more depth. Now I have a much lighter brown color that I'm coming in the center with, just filling in those shapes. Just needs to be visibly lighter than the outline. And now I have kind of just a standard bright red. I'm putting it right on top of that lighter brown color I used and mixing them together to try to get almost a brick red type color. The end product here is a reddish brown in the center with a much darker brown or black ridge. Right on the edge of that latex where you're mostly just putting the paint on your actual skin, I'm blending out a muted red tone to make my face look a little bit irritated and like it's an actual wound on my face. At this point, I'm taking a quick break from the stuff around my face, and now I'm going to be blocking out my eyebrows. As you saw there, I'm just taking a colorless brow gel and brushing my eyebrows in an upward motion. You could technically use any brow gel for this, but I would recommend the one that I'm using. I find it holds pretty well. And that weird product was Scar Wax. Does it feel weird to put wax on your brows? Yes. Does it feel great? No. But it will definitely keep your brows in place the entire time. You will not have to worry about them moving absolutely anywhere. If you're comfortable at all putting Scar Wax on top of your brows, I would definitely recommend it when blocking them out. And then after that, of course, I'm just going on top with my regular concealer. Personally, I also like to use this muted peachy tone on top because it blends in just a bit better with my natural skin, but if your face is covered in foundation, this step probably isn't necessary. And now that my brows are, for the most part, gone, we're just going back to this mouth part, and I'm going to be coming in with the blood. As you'll see here in a second, what I'm doing is putting a very thick layer of blood on the very edges of each of these wounds, and then smearing that blood out towards the center so it has a bit of depth. I want it to look like it's pooling on the very edges here, and that it's a much darker tone on the edge of the wound. Having the dark brown or black paint there will also help, because I find that fake blood does tend to pick up the color that's there. I'm also lightly stippling that blood that's already on the applicator on the outside of the wounds just to give them a bit more realism. I personally like this, but it's not everyone's cup of tea. And now it's finally time to actually apply the teeth. So I've prepared probably about 40 or 50 of these individual teeth. The size of them is of course up to you, but I think this smaller size works a bit better on my face. I'm just placing them over the blood, and since it hasn't dried yet, it's still a bit sticky. I don't think there's any need for any extra liquid latex or adhesive of any kind. They stick to the blood really well, and they didn't fall out the entire time I had the makeup on, so this method definitely works. The one and only spot I had any extra adhesive was on the inside of my nose, which I know sounds a bit weird, but I did want some teeth there to kind of bring that whole mouthpiece together. I do think it's necessary in this area because you breathe out of your nose and it's pretty easy to push it out. Now it's finally time to move on from the mouth part fully. I'll touch it up a little bit later, but this is pretty much it. To start out the rest of my face, I am doing a small X on my forehead because I do have a plan for the eyes, but I know I'm going to have a lot of blank space up here, so I'm just filling it with something. An upside down cross, a star, or pretty much any other symbol would also work for this. It's kind of up to you. Really, all I'm doing here is making an X in a light pink mauve tone and then coming in the center with that same deep brown from before. Also stippling out the edges with the pink and filling in the center with a little bit of blood. I've put the blood on a brush this time so I can get it a bit more exact. Now moving on to my neck, I'm also just trying to fill some blank space here since I want to kind of tie my whole face and body together. I'm using a red face paint. You could also use blood for this, but I find that's a little bit uncomfortable on the neck. And I'm just creating some drips coming down from those mouths so it looks like they've eaten something or the blood from the wounds is dripping down my face. Now moving on to the eye portion of this, I'm just starting out with some drips right under my eye. I also have a bit of a black eyeliner going on right underneath my eye. For that top portion, I'm basically creating a super thick dramatic eyeliner with black face paint. It doesn't have to be exact or the same on both sides because we're going to stipple it out in just a second here. Now I am using an actual stipple brush to do this, but you could just use a regular paintbrush. It will take a lot longer if you do that. As you can see, I'm basically making the entire top portion of my face black, going out on the sides of my eyes and over the top of my brow bone. Now I'm using small parts of cotton pads to actually go over my lips. In this clip here, you can see me going under my lips and kind of putting it inside my mouth. Later on, I decide to take that part off and then actually just put a little piece over it, but I never recorded that. I'll explain in a second the differences between what you see here and what I actually did for the final product. Sorry, I forgot to record it. And now I'm putting in some blind white contacts, which as you can see, make a huge difference here. Between these two sections is where I actually decide to touch it up a bit. I go over my lips using some tissue paper and a little bit of red and tan tones on top of some concealer so that it blends in with my skin and basically makes my lips disappear. And after all of that, we've got the final product. I've also included some portrait style shots because I think they do fit the character just a little bit better. And here are some mix of edited and non-edited pictures. Anyway, that basically concludes the video. I hope this tutorial was easy enough to follow along to and that it was helpful to anyone who wants to try out this look. Stick around to see some maybe funny clips of me totally messing up in the middle of recording this, and to see a couple more clips of the look itself. Anyway, that's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time if you decide to watch it. Bye! Hello and welcome to this video. I would say welcome to this channel. I don't really feel the need to. Oh my god. It's never gonna stop. It's never gonna stop falling down. To put in slits that'll kind of look like weird mouths. It'll make more sense when you see the finished look. This colored part.
No, 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 no.